I'm just annoyed. I'm tired. I've had it up to here. Identity politics is just crap, John.
You know what, Glenn?
We're a country of 320 million people. Everything's got to be about race. When the Democrats were having their debate, there was a candidate in the race called James Webb. Used to be the senator from West Virginia, a Democrat, a good man.
The military, yeah.
I liked him. He voted for the Affordable Care Act, okay? When he came into the Senate in 2007, made mass incarceration one of his issues and had hearings. I actually went and testified up on the Hill at Jim Webb's invitation. We have to do something about mass incarceration. Good man. Happens to be a white man who appreciates that the Scots-Irish hillbilly ethnic group I've read
the book, by the way.
J.D. Vance's book, good. It's worth your attention. This is Jim Webb. He happens to think that white people count too. Okay, and when the Democratic candidates were asked at their debate, Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter, the guy from Maryland, I forget his name now, said
Martin O'Malley.
Martin O'Malley said Black Lives Matter. Bernie Sanders said Black Lives Matter. Hillary Clinton said Black Lives Matter. Jim Webb said All Lives Matter. He was the only one up there who said All Lives Matter. John, that was the right answer.
Glenn, wasn't it Martin O'Malley who said that? I'm just doing a fact check here.
Okay, well, you can look it up. I don't believe so.
I think he got in trouble for saying it. But anyway, the point is somebody said that.
Not in the debate. I think he had said it on some other occasion, and by the time the debate came around, he had revised his... Look. You give people, white people and black people for that matter, especially the ones who have to live in tough neighborhoods, a choice between the cops and the Black Lives Matter types. You give them a choice. You give them a choice between law and order or what some people think is social justice, which is being on Michael Brown's side in the dispute between Michael Brown and Darren Wilson. You give them a choice. And then you're going to be surprised that a majority of them, or enough of them, in enough places like Pennsylvania and Ohio and Michigan and Wisconsin and North Carolina and Florida, side with the cops. And then, not you personally, you're going to call them racist? Okay? Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. There was only one correct answer to that question for anybody who wants to lead a country of 300 million people. Okay? And it was that all lives matter. They were under the sway of a misguided, self-absorbed, morally superficial movement. Nobody had the courage to say that. That's one of the reasons that they lost this election. It would have been so easy to say it. Okay? It would have been not all that hard. All you had to do was do what Bill Clinton would have done. And in fact, what Bill Clinton did do when he was confronted by some of these nuts who think that they have a right to shout down anybody because we're not dotting every I and crossing every T the way they want to on their manifesto of demands. When Bill Clinton had the courage to confront them, he was pilloried by all of the usual suspects in the media and on the left of the Democratic Party, but he was absolutely right. He had the right instinct about that. So.
Glenn, you know what? Here's where we meet in the middle on this. This election was a referendum on PC. I think that the ideology, for example, that says that black people have no moral responsibility because of the past and the imperfect present, the idea of the hypersensitivity to little Phillips of language, the idea that a certain segment of society have the right to shut white people down because we've understood now certain truths that cannot be contravened without one being read out of moral society. This was a referendum on that because a great many people who are not holding up ugly signs, who no reasonable person could possibly call a bigot, voted for Trump. And they voted for Trump because for them, they may not have thought of him as a paragon of virtue, but those things weren't deal breakers. And I think it's painfully clear that if after a good 40 years of a certain leftist idea of civility being pushed, particularly in the settings that you and I are used to in the magazines that we read, that, frankly, decent people with college degrees still don't get it, as many people would put it. They're not going to. I think that we've seen that a certain kind of intellectually led movement has wanted to push even good thinking, educated human beings further than they could go. I think you would say that they were just pushing them in a wrong direction. I would say I understand the moral utopia that, say, these social justice warriors are pushing for. I don't think that it's feasible. And I think that we've seen that in what happened with this election when such a bad man, ends up being elected because people think of him as representing their concerns, even if he's a bad man. And so I'm trying to get my footing, my sense of where we stand.
Okay.
Because this is a new America in that sense.
It is. I mean, I think that we agree. I agree about what you just said about the kind of moral policing and the PC and people's rebellion against that. And I also agree that the tectonic plates have shifted, and we're in a world unlike any that we had known before, and it's going to take us all a while to get our bearings. I agree with that.